Whenever her boyfriend had sex with her, something strange always happened. Mitchell had always believed that love was supposed to feel safe, warm, like home. She wasn't the type to chase money or luxury. All she ever wanted was someone who would genuinely care about her, someone who would choose her every single day without hesitation. But life hadn't been easy for her. Things had been falling apart slowly. Financial struggles, emotional stress, loneliness that crept in during quiet nights. She had reached a point where she just needed something, or someone, to hold on to. And then, Xavier came into her life. It felt almost too perfect. They met on a rainy evening when the sky was dark and heavy, and the streets were nearly empty. Mitchell stood by the roadside, frustrated. Her phone switched off and no way to get home. Just when she was about to give up, a sleek black car pulled over beside her. The window rolled down slowly, and there he was, Xavier. His voice was calm, confident, almost hypnotic. He offered her a ride, and for some reason she couldn't explain, she trusted him instantly. That was the beginning. From that day on, Xavier became everything Mitchell didn't even know she needed. He called her every morning, checked on her constantly, listened to her problems like no one ever had before, and then came the gifts. At first, it was small things, flowers, food, little surprises that made her smile. But as time went on, it became bigger, expensive, a new phone, designer clothes, money, sometimes more than she asked for. "Don't worry about anything," he would always say. "I've got you." And he meant it. Mitchell had never experienced that kind of treatment before. It felt like she had finally been chosen, like she had finally found her place in someone's life. To her friends, it looked like a dream. To her, it felt like one too. But every dream has a side no one sees. It started subtly. So subtle that she almost ignored it. The first time she noticed something strange was after they spent the night together. When she woke up the next morning, her body felt unusually heavy. Not just tired, but drained. Like all her energy had been pulled out of her overnight. She could barely lift herself from the bed. Her head felt foggy, her chest tight. It was a strange feeling, but Xavier brushed it off easily. "You probably just didn't sleep well," he said, pulling her close with a smile. And just like that, she believed him. But it didn't stop there. Every single time they were that close, every time they shared that kind of intimacy, the same thing happened. Mitchell would wake up weaker, slower, more exhausted than she had ever felt before. And Xavier, he was always the opposite. Energetic, fresh, even more alive than usual. It didn't make sense. But whenever her mind tried to question it, Xavier would distract her. With love. With attention. With gifts. He would show up with flowers, wrap her in his arms, transfer money into her account, and suddenly, all her doubts would fade away. She convinced herself it was nothing. But her body knew better. Weeks passed, and the changes became impossible to ignore. Mitchell started losing weight. Her skin lost its glow. Her eyes, once bright and full of life, began to look dull. People noticed, especially her best friend. One afternoon, as they sat together, her friend stared at her for a long moment before speaking. "Mitchell, what's going on with you?" "I'm fine," she replied quickly. But her friend shook her head. "No, you're not. You don't look like yourself anymore." Mitchell forced a smile. "I've just been tired." But deep down, she knew it was more than that. She just didn't want to face it. Then came the night everything changed. Xavier had come over as usual, calm and charming, bringing gifts like always. They spent the evening together, laughing, talking, pretending everything was normal. But that night, Mitchell couldn't sleep. Something felt off. Her body was tired, but her mind was restless. And then Xavier's phone buzzed. It was sitting right there on the table. She hesitated. She knew she shouldn't, but something inside her pushed her to pick it up. The screen lit up, and what she saw made her heart drop. Messages, strange messages, cold messages, another one secured. Be careful. Don't drain her too fast. Her energy is strong. You can last longer with this one. Mitchell's hands began to shake. Her breathing became uneven. What does this mean? She quickly dropped the phone as she heard the bathroom door open. Xavier walked out like nothing had happened, smiling, relaxed, normal. But Mitchell was no longer the same. That night, she pretended to sleep. She needed answers. She needed to know the truth. Hours passed. Silence filled the room. Then suddenly, Xavier moved. Slowly, he sat up. And in that moment, something about him changed. His expression became empty, cold, like the man she loved had disappeared. He whispered something under his breath, words she couldn't understand. Then he turned to her, gently placing his hand on her body, and instantly she felt it again. That same draining sensation, that same unbearable heaviness. But this time, she was awake. Tears formed in her eyes, but she didn't move. Fear held her still. This is real. This is actually happening. The next morning, Xavier acted like nothing had happened. He smiled, he joked, he bought her breakfast. But Mitchell couldn't pretend anymore. That evening, she faced him. Xavier, what are you doing to me? The room went silent. For the first time, he didn't have an answer ready. His expression changed. You weren't supposed to find out, he said quietly. Mitchell stepped back, her heart racing. Find out what? Xavier sighed. I gave you everything, he said. Everything you wanted. Tears rolled down her face. At what cost? He looked at her, and this time there was no love in his eyes. Nothing in this world is free, he replied. That was all she needed to hear. That night, Mitchell ran. She didn't pack, she didn't think, she just left, and she never looked back. Weeks passed, then months. Slowly, her strength returned, her body healed, her light came back, but the memory never left her. Because she learned something the hard way. Not every blessing is good. Not every love is real. And sometimes, the people who give you everything are the same ones quietly taking the one thing you can never replace, your life.